Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive. And today we're going right into the heart of the AI world. Things are changing so fast, I swear.
I know, right?
It's like every time you blink, there's a new AI model, a new breakthrough. It can be a little overwhelming to keep up, but hey, that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. That's the fun part.
You got it.
Yeah.
So whether you're prepping for some big tech meeting or just genuinely curious about AI because, let's be real, who isn't these days, you're in the right place.
Right.
We're dissecting a brand new analysis, hot off the press, of the most talked about AI agent models out there. We're talking about Google's Gemini, the latest from OpenAI, the whole shebang.
Oh, yeah, the big leagues.
But here's the thing. We're not just looking at specs on a sheet. We're diving deep into how these models actually perform in the real world, where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Head to head, seeing who comes out on top.
Like a real AI Hunger Games.
Exactly. So before we unleash these AI gladiators, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is an AI agent? Why all the hype?
Great question. I think a lot of people are still wrapping their heads around it.
For sure. So imagine a chatbot, right? But instead of just giving you information, it can actually use tools to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Like it could use a calculator, check your calendar, even book a flight for you.
It's like having a personal assistant that's actually, well, helpful.
Right. And the analysis we're looking at, they honed in on 5 key things that make an AI agent truly great.
Yeah.
And they put these models through a gauntlet of tests, real-world scenarios.
I bet that was fascinating to see.
It was. We're talking Gemini 2.0 Flash, OpenAI's GPT-4 and O3 Mini, DeepSeek R1, and Claude Sonnet 3.5.
Wow, their all-star team.
No kidding. Now, each of these models has its own quirks, its own strengths. For example, Gemini has got a massive context window, 1 million tokens. That means it can process and remember huge amounts of information.
1 million. That's incredible.
It's mind-boggling. But of course, there might be trade-offs, right? Like maybe it's slower in other areas. We'll see. The first test they put these models through was brutal. Instruction overload, they called it. Imagine this. Writing a newsletter. Sounds simple enough, right?
Right.
But add in specific formatting, a ton of rules, all kinds of constraints. Like imagine trying to write a haiku while herding cats, that level of complexity.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So it's not just about understanding the instructions, but also executing them flawlessly in a complex environment.
Exactly. And this is crucial, right? If you're going to trust an AI agent to do real-world stuff, it can't just go rogue. You ask it to book a dinner reservation. You don't want it booking you a flight to Antarctica.
Right, no AI-powered misadventures.
So the results of this first test were pretty eye-opening. All the models technically passed, meaning they followed the instructions and got the job done, but some took their sweet, sweet time.
So speed is a factor too.
Big time. We're talking about AI should be lightning fast, right? But DeepSeek V3, it took a whole 10 minutes to crawl through that task.
10 minutes. Oof.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
Not exactly the speed demon we were hoping for. This kind of sluggishness, it suggests some limitations in DeepSeek's processing power, maybe efficiency too.
Makes sense.
Claude Sonnet 3.5 also hit a snag, especially with its token usage. Tokens, those are like the bits of language the models process, right?
Yeah.
So more tokens used means more computing power, which could mean higher costs.
Right, efficiency is key.
Absolutely. So Claude's struggling here. That hints at some potential inefficiencies in its approach. On the other hand, OpenAI's models, especially that O3 Mini, they were like cheetahs, man. Speed and precision, the kind of performance that makes developers and users alike cheer.
That's what you want to see.
You got it.
Yeah.
So round 1 goes to OpenAI's O3 Mini performance and efficiency, the winning combo. But hold on tight because #2 is a whole other beast. The tool calling challenge. This one's where things got really interesting. Think of it like tool hell for AI agents. It's like juggling a bunch of things at once, checking the date, the weather, what the stock market's doing, even calculating square roots.
Tense and tense.
It is. And it really tests their ability to not just access information, but use it effectively in the real world.
Right, because what good is knowing a recipe if you can't actually cook, right?
Exactly. And oh boy, did some of these models struggle. DeepSeek and Gemini, they both had a tough time. Gemini could call the tools, but then it couldn't quite figure out how to use the information they gave it.
So it knew where the ingredients were, but couldn't put them together.
Pretty much. And this highlights something really important. Just being able to access tools isn't enough for an AI agent. It needs to understand how to use the information those tools provide to actually solve problems and complete tasks.
Otherwise, it's just a fancy data hoarder.
Exactly. Now, OpenAI's models and Claude, they were like master chefs in this challenge. They seamlessly used the tools and integrated the information into their responses, showing a deeper level of understanding.
That's impressive.
It really is. It's like the difference between someone who can just recite facts from a textbook and someone who can actually apply that knowledge to build something new or solve a problem.
Makes sense.
So another win for OpenAI, and Claude did all right too, considering its earlier hiccups. But the real test, the one that separates the contenders from the champions, that was test, #3 the needle in a haystack. This one was all about information processing, seeing which model could find that one crucial piece of info in a mountain of data.
Sounds like a challenge for even the most advanced AI.
Oh, it was. Imagine being dropped in a library with millions of books and having to find one specific fact. Talk about information overload.
Yikes.
Right. This test was all about something called RAG performance, RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Retrieval Augmented Generation. Got it.
It's basically how AI agents find specific information in tons and tons of data, like having a superpowered research assistant that can sift through everything in the blink of an eye.
I could use one of those.
Who couldn't? And let me tell you, some of these models really struggled. DeepSeek V3 and Claude Sonnet. They couldn't even handle half their seeded context window capacity. It was like they got lost in the library and couldn't find their way back to the card catalog.
So context window capacity is important for this kind of task.
Absolutely. It's all about how much information the model can process at once. And then there's the concept of single-shot responses. Some models, like GPT-4, could find the answer on the first try. Super efficient. Others needed multiple tries, which drives up costs and time.
Efficiency is king, right?
Always. And the champion of this round, the one that blew everyone out of the water, Gemini 2.0 Flash. It processed a mind-blowing 900,000 tokens for just 8 cents. Like finding that needle in the haystack and winning the lottery at the same time.
That's incredible.
It is. Gemini's ability to handle that much information so cheaply makes it incredibly powerful for applications that need to process tons of data. But as we've seen, each model has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Right, the right tool for the right job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb unless you were really, really frustrated.
Good point.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? Who's the overall winner?
Drum roll, please.
Yeah.
The crown goes to OpenAI's O3 Mini. It was consistently strong across all the tests, instruction following, tool calling, and even a respectable showing in RAG performance, all at a reasonable cost too.
A well-deserved win.
I'd say so. However,
However,
don't leave me hanging. While O3 Mini is an all-around champ, if you need a model for chatbots or applications that rely heavily on massive amounts of data, Gemini 2.0 Flash might be the better choice.
yeah.
It's incredibly efficient, and that huge context window is hard to beat.
So Gemini's the data crunching specialist.
You got it. And then there's DeepSeek R1. It's a bit more niche, you could say.
A diamond in the rough.
Exactly. It's slow, but it really shines in process-based tasks where keeping costs down is a top priority. So the best model really depends on what you need it to do.
That makes sense.
So there you have it. A whirlwind tour through the world of AI agents. OpenAI's O3 Mini takes the crown, Gemini 2.0 Flash is the data-devouring dark horse, and DeepSeek R1 is the budget-friendly workhorse.
An impressive lineup.
What I find really fascinating is that even with all these amazing results, we're still in the early days of AI agent development.
It's true. Things are moving so fast.
And it's exciting to think about what the future holds.
No kidding.
Speaking of the future, let's leave our listeners with something to ponder. Imagine an AI agent that could not only process information, but also understand human emotions, intent, even creativity.
Whoa, now that's getting into some serious sci-fi territory. But also kind of mind-blowing.
Right. So it's not just about raw power. It's about finding that right balance for the task at hand.
Absolutely. It's about understanding each model's strengths and weaknesses and choosing the one that aligns with your goals. And of course, keeping an eye on what's coming next because new models are popping up all the time.
It's almost like picking a team for a fantasy AI league. Except instead of points, we're talking about solving real-world problems.
Haha, I like that analogy.
This whole deep dive has been a roller coaster, but it's left me feeling pretty energized. What about you?
Definitely. That's what I love about this field. It's constantly pushing boundaries and making us think differently about what's possible.
Me too. And, you know, we've been talking about these AI agents like they're superpowered assistants. But what if those assistants get, well, a little too super?
That's a good question.
The source material even mentioned this, the idea that AI agents could replace some jobs. So is it time to start polishing up our resumes? Or are we getting ahead of ourselves?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, it's true. AI agents probably will automate some tasks, which could change the job market.
Right.
But if we look back at history, technological advancements usually lead to new opportunities too.
So it's not about jobs disappearing, but rather changing, evolving.
Exactly. We need to be adaptable and focus on skills that work alongside AI, not compete with it. Things like critical thinking, being creative, emotional intelligence, those uniquely human skills.
So it's not about outrunning the AI train. It's about learning how to drive it.
Or at least figuring out how to write it without getting thrown off.
Perfect analogy. And remember, AI agents are just tools. They're only as good as the people who design and use them.
That's a good point.
It's up to us to make sure they're used ethically and responsibly, to help us, not replace us.
Definitely.
Okay, listeners, one last thought before we wrap up. We've explored all these capabilities, the challenges, even the potential, existential threats of AI agents.
Right.
But here's the thing. They're not some distant futuristic fantasy. They're here, right now. And they're becoming more part of our lives every day.
That's true.
Think about it. Personalized recommendations on your streaming service, voice assistants in your home. AI agents are already shaping our world. And as they get even more sophisticated, their impact will only grow.
It's a little like the internet was back in the day. Remember, it was this weird niche thing. And now, well, I haven't mailed a letter in years.
Me neither.
Yeah.
And just like the internet, AI agents have the power to completely change how we live, work, interact with the world.
Absolutely.
The key is to approach it all with a sense of curiosity, but also critical thinking. A healthy dose of, maybe a little bit of skepticism.
Skepticism, but also wonder. I mean, we're talking about machines that can learn, reason, even create.
It's pretty wild when you think about it. Who knows what amazing things they'll help us achieve in the future.
Exactly.
The future of AI agents is a story that's still being written, and we're all part of it, whether we realize it or not. So stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay curious.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Potter's Quill hopes you have enjoyed this program.